It's the Elsa Show with Clay Novak. Conservative views on world news. Brought to you by The Wellness Company. Prepare for the unexpected. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is debate night, and if you're watching us instead, that must mean that you want to keep your sanity, right? That's how we felt about it too. So anyhow, hi Clay, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's debate night. You know, we haven't had one of these in a while, and the last one was the Republican debates, which you and I weren't terribly happy about. But we'll talk more all of that right after we get started.
Well, hey guys. So I'm as usual discombobulated. I just came back. I don't even know if you know this, Clay. I just got back from Florida again on Monday. So so we switched our recording time. We're actually right now we're recording on Wednesday morning, which is such a rare occurrence for us. I'm so thrown off. I'm in my head. I'm thinking it's like nighttime outside because I'm down in my little studio. I'm so discombobulated, but not in a bad way. It's just in a funny way that I'm all out of sorts.
Listen, life's busy. Your life's busy. My life's busy. We got to make adjustments sometimes, but you know, it's allowed us a little bit more time. We got to see a little bit of the results of the primaries that happened yesterday. We'll talk more about those later, but the big thing is the debate. And we are, you know, like you said, this is going to air about the same time or in and around the same time as the debate. Mm-hmm. And this is the high priority topic for everybody, not just us, but for every news outlet. Everybody is watching this. I mean, it's the biggest thing going on.
Yeah. And the craziest part about it is I would say more than half the people are watching it just wondering if Joe Biden can get through it.
Yeah, it's the spectacle. And we've been hearing about the prep. You know, I'm sure you've been here. So now that he's at Camp David, he's been there all week long. And I heard an old theater and an airplane hangar have been mocked up to replicate the stage that they're going to be on. He's had 16 current and former advisors there, and he's been practicing standing up for 90 minutes.
Wow. Wow. Just the fact that he has to practice standing up for 90 minutes.
Bless.
Oh, so, as our little headline there says, the huge conversation is about whether the debate is, I don't even know if this is a real debate about the debate, that it's going to be rigged in favor of Joe Biden simply because of the moderators and who's, doing all of that. And you got Jack Tapper and Dana, what's her name? Dana something.
Jake Tapper and Dana. Is it Perino?
Yeah, I think so. Hang on.
It's a CNN.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, so the conversation, of course, is that they are, feeding him the questions that Joe's going to have all the questions ahead of time, that he's going to be, in his preparations for this, he will have the questions. And, it's hard to imagine, if we go by all the statements that this guy has made about Trump, he clearly, the whole network, they hate Trump with such an aggressive passion. It's really hard to imagine anything other than that. So I guess the interesting part really is the fact that that Trump said, I'm okay. Yeah, let's do it. And I don't know if that's going to work in his favor or against him. What do you think?
So I think it's a comparative. I think things in terms of, is he going to be okay versus President Biden?
Right.
I think if he had a more together, more staunch opponent who, had better control of his faculties and all that other stuff, then I think he would probably be a little more worried. I think his prep would be a little bit more deliberate. We all know, I mean, there's a level of arrogance there that you can't, it's just, it is who he is, but at the same time, he's not an idiot. So I think, as he is out campaigning, making up for lost time that he lost, sitting in a courtroom in New York for 5-6 weeks,
right?
He's using that time to prep. But when he says, yeah, I'm going to be fine, I think he's talking in, versus Biden. President Biden. So, there's that. I think the strategy will be interesting. I read just this morning, that President Biden's strategy is going to be to try and trigger President Trump, which I don't is actually a pretty good strategy.
It is
matter of, is President Trump going to take the bait or not?
Right.
which he's apt to do.
Yes. Yeah. He's, I think his best strategy is to exhibit an incredible Herculean amount of self-control. And, and that's, I think, honestly, I think that's the biggest thing. Just keep your composure. Don't take the bait, and just keep hitting them. Just keep hitting them with all the facts, facts, numbers, truth. Leave out the name calling and all the
Yes.
silliness and all those things, because and I'm not saying he's wrong in any of the things that he says, but they're pointless. Like, make your points, hit all of those things, the economy, the border, just keep going, tout, your own record, your plans. I mean, he just talked about, and that made big waves, eliminating taxing tips for servers, or wait staff servers and all that kind of stuff. And that made a big ripple. People were like, yeah, how about that? Let's do that. So talk about the things that you're going to do. Talk about the things that he's not doing, or that he's that Biden has done to the detriment of the country. Leave the name calling out. You don't have to call him Sleepy Joe. You don't have to you don't have to go with any of those things. You don't need to. We already know. We already call him all those things. You're just wasting airspace by doing that. But just keep hitting them, and then man, just let the guy talk. Well, he doesn't have a choice. There's no choice. So they're muting the microphones. There's no choice.
So the microphone muting is interesting. Just, we talked about this before, but just a little bit of time to reflect and think about it. And what, really what our headline is for this segment, is it rigged towards, President Biden? The moderators are going to have control of those mic mute buttons. So what they can do, truthfully, is allow, mute President Trump a little bit more, mute President Biden a little bit less. If President Biden is stumbling, bumbling, fumbling, hitting the mute button so that people don't hear it, those kind of that, the mute button, I think, has the potential to be a bigger issue than really any of us anticipated. I think, we all know that it's originally, or at least the way it was sold, was to prevent what you and I both despised about the Republican debates, which was them talking over each other and not being able to hear anything. And, all of those things, controlling people, talking beyond their time. And it's got value for all of that, but it can be manipulated like anything else. So, dead air time, I think, benefits President Trump, truthfully. Like you said, if he gets in, he puts his message out, whatever it is on whatever topic they're talking about, and then he stops talking. And then it kicks over to President Biden to rebut or whatever. And it's especially if it's quick, like if it doesn't give President Biden time to, listen, collect, analyze, and then, respond. And it turns into a deathly long pause while he's trying to figure out what he's going to say. That benefits President Trump. But I don't know how all that's going to work. It's going to be very, very interesting to watch. But I do think there's potential there to manipulate it based, like you said, Jake Tapper and Dana Perino and CNN and everything else, for it to be, pushed over towards President Biden to give him an advantage, throughout the entirety of the debate.
Yeah, I want to kind of echo what you said there, because I think that actually is extremely brilliant, or could be brilliant on Trump's part, to keep those answers short and to the point. And then, like you said, just be done. I'm done. I answered the question. Go ahead. And like you said, go nice, really quick, because Biden, no matter how much they prepare him for the questions, and I'm sure part of that preparation will be, responding to all of Trump's possible answers and rebuttals and comments and all of the things. So, I'm sure they are prepping as much as they can, but, I would think they're basing it off on Trump's track record on how he does things all the time. So for him to change it up drastically would throw everything that they have prepared for right out the window. And Biden's going to be left up there looking like the stumbling, bumbling old man that he is, because Trump has already shown, as far as stamina and the whole thing about standing up for 90 minutes, Trump has shown time and again, the man is just, he's a beast. He's a beast. He'll go from state to state and just stand up there, for however long he does his thing and go on to the next thing. He's tireless. So this is going to be nothing.
And we talked about this, I think, during the Republican debates. The prep, we used to refer to it in the Army as a murder board. So as somebody was going in front of a review board or a promotion board or any of these boards that we always have, you prep them and you go through and you have people, sit up there as the board members and they throw questions at them. And all it is a rehearsal, but you're also going through the potential questions right? And in this case, the potential Trump responses to the questions to allow President Biden, at least a book in his head of like, well, if he says this, then I need to say this. But the reality is there's only so much memory bank left. Like, they can't. Yeah. And I think what you said about, just trying to force him into that quick response thing, no matter how much they prep him, it's not going to matter. Like, eventually it's going to get to a point where he's just not going to know what to say, and he's going to run out of steam, and it's going to be bad.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of, well, listen, here's the thing. Come on, man. I'm not joking.
Fillers. Those are his time fillers. And
those are all of the stall tactics to try and get the synapses firing. And so those are things that we can hope for in favor of Trump. But it's tough because he's very easy to trigger. All you got to do is bring up the trials, that because he's gonna, Biden's angle is going to be, or his team's angle is going to be, well, he's a convicted felon, he's a criminal, he flouts the justice system, he does all the things, and Trump just has to. I just hope he's well prepared for all of those in how to react. I mean, he's got the answers, he's got the responses. It's just the delivery and the timing of that.
Well, we've got his first response. I mean, we've got it, right? Cuomo just came out, right, and said exactly this. If he wasn't running for president, the trial never would have happened. And he's talking about the hush money trial, right? And
he was talking to Bill Maher. We actually have it. Here it is.
The hush money trial. I don't think they should have brought that one. It was just always going to look like a sex case, and people were always just going to look at it that way. So anyway.
That case, the Attorney General's case in New York, frankly, should have never been brought. And if his name was not Donald Trump, and if he wasn't running for president from the former AG in New York, I'm telling you, that case would have never been brought.
There it is.
That's a pretty explosive statement there from, from a Democrat, New York former governor who, no matter what he says, I still think he's a piece of garbage, but that's besides the point. So, so that was pretty interesting. It was a pretty big statement there on his part, And
that's President Trump's response, right? It's written for him. He doesn't have to say anything else. Governor Cuomo, former, Attorney General, blah, 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 blah. He said the same thing that it's not me saying it. He said it. If it wasn't me, if I wasn't running for president, this case never would have come to court. And that's it. And that's all he has to say.
I hope he's listening. I hope somebody told him to say this.
You would assume, right? But again, you got to hope that he doesn't take the bait, and then, and then it's going to roll to the other trials. They're going to bring them all up, and the current one is the raid on Mar-a-Lago for the classified documents. And, his defense team has said, we're challenging the entire thing based on the Fourth Amendment. The Justice Department didn't follow due process. They didn't. None of it was done legally. And it's a matter of constitutionality of what they did. Now, and I know that people love to support and or criticize the justice system as it supports them, or doesn't support them. So, you'll hear a lot of people. Oh, well, he's just working the system. These are the same people that work the system themselves. Right.
Absolutely.
That's going to be the response. Oh, it's all BS. He's just, and that's not it. This is either you support the justice system, as, oh, by the way, convicted him as a felon, in the previous trial, or you don't, and it's one way or the other. But this is going to come up too. And I'll be very interested to see really on all of these. But like we said, the hush money trial was the response was written for him, which is awesome.
Right.
But it'll be very interesting to see how he responds to the rest of the trials.
Part of me wonders, should he even respond to those? Because it's just, I guess he's not going to have much of a choice. He's got to give some type of response, but responding to him is going to take up such a length of his time that, if he's defending himself against the accusations, they're do that in court. That's all happening. Focus more on the abuse of power, the use of the Department of Justice and the criminal system and all of that. Talk about how that is being weaponized by the Biden administration and how reckless and dangerous that is. I feel like he has to keep redirecting that spotlight off of him and back onto them and what they're doing. And, I hope that he does that, because if he just, spends all his time defending himself, I think that I just don't think it's going to benefit him.
I think, and truthfully, the fact, if it comes up, which it will, but this is who brings it up. So if it's part of a question from the moderators, which it very well may be, or if it's part of a response from President Biden, I think the immediate response is, okay, well, we're already influencing the trial. Just the fact that it's been brought up, we now have presidential interference. We've got interference from the media. Everyone's trying to manipulate this trial. In my last trial, I wasn't even allowed to talk about it in the media. So my rights were, suppressed. But what we're doing right here is media influence, undue influence from the White House. We shouldn't even be talking about this because it's an ongoing trial. And then just kind of like, that's it.
Absolutely.
Stay out of it. You won't let, the court wouldn't let me talk about it. You shouldn't be talking about it, and certainly President Biden shouldn't be talking about it as president of the United States, who the Justice Department works for, shouldn't be talking about it because it's undue influence. So let's just move on to the next question. And that should be the end of it.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, you're right. That would be, because those are great points. He's already, from his previous trials, he's already had gag orders put on him from speaking. So, he could certainly comment on that, say, listen, I've already been silenced from speaking. So I, can't take any chances here. Who knows? It's going to be so interesting. I have this, so as we said, we're recording Wednesday morning and we'll be watching with you guys. I'll actually be at a Brooks and Dunn concert. So I don't really know if I'm going to be able to. I might put a, like one headphone in and just, because I don't want to miss anything. I don't know.
Go to the concert, enjoy the concert. You'll catch the highlights later. Perfectly fine. True. Just
I know.
live life. We all suck so bad at just living life. We get wrapped up in this stuff so much. Go to the concert and enjoy it.
It's so true. It's Brooks and Dunn, for goodness sake. Jeez, I gotta enjoy that. It's a short concert, so I'm sure I'll be able to catch some of it. Again, more up there in age people doing stuff and things that, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. They're so talented. That's besides the point. This is all besides the point, guys. It's just kind of dawning on me. I told you right from the beginning, I'm so out of sorts, and it's like just dawning on me as we're talking. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to be at a concert during this debate. So
yeah, I will be, I'm actually going tomorrow to, like we said, we're recording Wednesday morning. So Thursday, the day of the debate, I'm going to shoot in a charity shoot. It's a fundraiser for the Alan Lynch Foundation. Al, I've mentioned him a couple of times on here before. Medal of Honor recipient from Vietnam. His foundation, which does a ton for veterans and veteran education specifically, but a lot of veteran support. They're doing a Clay Target fundraiser shoot, which I'm going to shoot in tomorrow. And I'll tell you, it'll be a fight to stay awake during the debates because it's a day outside. It's hot. It's it's the all that
exhausted.
Stuff. Yeah, I'll be tired tomorrow night, but I'll do the best I can to stay awake during the debates. But I get it. Go enjoy the concert.
I am curious how many people plan on watching. You guys got to drop in the comments. If you're watching us, drop it in the comments. If you're going back and forth and watching, I'm just curious. I suspect
screens.
This one. Yes, that's
screens, right.
That's the world we live in right now. You got your tablet, you've got your phone, you've got your laptop. That's me. That's my life. Like I usually have all three going at once. So, it's no surprise that my brain is like, it's monkey brain. I call it major monkey brain. But I would imagine that a lot of people are watching this one. Half is probably going to be watching because they want to see Trump mess up, and lose his cool and say crazy things. And the other half is watching because they want to see Biden screw up and fumble and bumble and tumble and all of the umbles for him. So I do suspect, unlike, the other, like the other debates, the Republican ones and everything, those had, I think, relatively low viewership. But this one I would think has got to be pretty high because it's, I think in a lot of ways, people feel like it's like watching a slow motion train wreck, right? Again, and that goes towards whoever you're leaning for or against, whichever one you're watching.
No, you're right. It's so sad because we really used to watch these things with an eye on, their position on specific issues. Most of it we kind of already knew, but it was always good to hear them articulate specifically what they were going to do based on a specific issue. And now it's not even about that. It's not. It's about, what crazy name is Trump going to come up with for Hunter Biden? You know what I mean? Like, what's he going to call him?
Yes.
And is, President Biden going to wander off in the middle of, that's what everybody's watching. They're not watching to know or find out what, how President Biden's going to handle this since he had, what is he going to do different from the last 4 years? What's President Trump going to do different than President Biden and what he did in his previous administration? How are they going to handle new and emerging? Like, where are they at on Israel? Let's hear him say it out loud. Right. Nobody's listening or watching for that. They're watching circus, which is shame. Yeah. It's terrible, but it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad to see how far we've devolved from civilized conduct, right? Yeah. And discourse and everything, because you're absolutely right. That's exactly what people are watching for. They're watching for the the circus, like you said. They're watching the circus, and they've got their popcorn, and they're just, they're playing drinking games. And I do not advise you people to play drinking games watching these things. You're going to go blind drunk, whenever you're betting.
Friday. You will miss work on Friday.
Yes, there's no question. Don't do that to yourself. Don't overwhelm the the ER with toxic alcohol poisoning or something. Yeah. Oh man, but, it's so.
We're talking about issues. I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's what we all want to know, right? And the debate's going to be, like you said, it's going to be brought up. He's a convicted felon, and and then all the trials are going to come up, and then at the very same time, we've got President Biden basically flaunting the law, ignoring the law. And yet again, he's, paying off student loans without authorization, using taxpayer dollars, and within the scope of his, abilities as a president, which is wrong. It's untrue. And that's what we just had. The attorney general from the state of Missouri, right? Missouri.
Yep.
Missouri. Yeah. Federal appeals court. And the court supported him and said, no, the president doesn't have the ability to do this. Right. So now you've got it in the federal court system yet again, saying, no, President Biden can't do this. And you know what? He keeps doing it.
He keeps doing it. And
third or fourth attempt, right? That he just signed some paperwork and they move forward, and he doesn't give a crap about the law. And nobody,
they don't care.
That should be a primary response from President Trump tomorrow night. Like, well, you clearly don't care about the law. Why should anybody else?
Yes, absolutely. That would be brilliant. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And Karine Jean-Pierre just just came right out and said, she's like, oh, no, keep filling out those applications. Don't stop filling them out. Send them in. This is just a little hiccup, basic paraphrasing. She didn't say the word hiccup, just so you know. But yes, they're just saying, keep doing it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about any of that legal stuff, that nonsense. We don't care about that. Yeah, this is crazy. And, again, talk about an incredible, we could all lose our minds over this one, on what a slap in the face the entire concept is to, relieve student loan debts from people who chose knowingly and willingly to take out loans to go to school because they can't afford it. So they take out these loans, and now it's just going to get erased. Never mind the people who went to trade school, never mind the people who didn't go to college or whose kids didn't go to college. But now we have to pay for you who decided, I don't feel like doing this. Like, I'm just not going to pay for my loans. Listen, screw all of you. Like, that's insane.
The recruiting station was open to everybody. GI Bill, whether it was Montgomery GI Bill, post 9/11 GI Bill, however old you are, the recruiting station was open to everybody. Right. And oh, by the way, transferable. My daughter, and I've talked about this. I was in the Army for 25 years. I contributed to the GI Bill. I was pre 9/11, so I was Montgomery GI Bill. Got transitioned over, and thankfully, one of the benefits that came about post 9/11 was the ability to transfer your GI Bill to a family member. My daughter went to college, got her degree free of charge, like everything paid for from my GI Bill. Because why? Because I earned it, and I contributed to it.
Yes.
And by the way, everybody else could have done the same thing. And listen, and I'm going to get the same crap. Well, not everybody qualifies from the. You're right, they don't. Okay, fine,
sure.
But at the same time, that some young man or woman who served their country for 4 years, contributed to the GI Bill, went and earned it and got themselves some college. That doesn't mean they have to pay back your $200,000 in loans.
Right. So you can get a degree in
underwater basket weaving.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I think I'll put it in here. The video of these New York college students. I forget the university now. I forget the school. But they're taunting basically everyone with their degrees, what they got a degree in, and they are the most absurd, nonsensical, non-useful degrees It's the stupidest thing. Yeah, it's mind blowing.
I've watched the following video twice. It was painful both times, but both times it was with utter shock and disbelief. Watch it with me.
Hey, I'm Melanie. I'm studying the unseen body and creative spaces of erasure and exposure of the queer.
Hey, I'm Nina, and I studied the arts, education, and social justice.
Just so we're clear, this is real life, not a skit, not made up.
I'm Joyce. I study decolonial intimacies, indigenous politics of resistance.
I'm Victoria, and I studied remembering or forgetting, navigating international conflict and collective memory.
What?
Hi, I'm Kira, and I study textiles and environmental justice. Hi, I'm Nunyala. I'm studying living artfully, art as ritual therapy, and pathway to decoloniality. I'm Naomi, and I'm studying Black political economy.
Someone paid for this. Someone paid to get a degree in that.
I'm Natalie, and I'm studying fashion history and gender studies.
My name is Marie, and my concentration is the radical disruption for survival, development in sub-Saharan Africa, and social anthropology.
You know who I think about when I watch this? I think about the parents. Like, what is going through those parents' minds when they realize what their children have gotten out of college? Like, their hard-earned money.
Hi, I'm Ava, and I study women, fugitive family, relationships, and identity.
And this is what we're paying for people to go to school for. And that's just unacceptable. And, this administration seems to think that that's totally cool and totally fine because, obviously everything comes down to votes. They think, well, we do this, they'll vote for, for us. That's what it's all about, among other things. I mean, the ultimate thing that everything is all about destroying this country. I mean, they are definitely, there's no question about it. They are definitely the ultimate goal here is to just disassemble our entire structure, our entire system. And they make no bones about it anymore, really. Anybody who's in denial about that is just that. They're just in denial. That's it.
It is about, tearing down the foundations of what this country was built on, because right now we don't like it. You know what I mean? Like there's no acknowledgement of the value of what it is or what it was, whether you agree with it or not. The foundation of our nation is being torn apart purposefully. Like this isn't an accident. So they're, this is just another part of it. We're educating people. We are, paying for their education in absurd areas of study, which truthfully bear very little to no benefit whatsoever to this country.
None.
Listen, if these were STEM degrees and there was a payback program, right? So you go from engineering, a technology, science, math, whatever, and you turn around and you contribute to society or the country as a whole and provide some sort of service in research and development or whatever. And there's a loan repayment program for that. I'm all for it. That's awesome.
Agreed.
Great. But this is like, it's, crazy off the wall degrees that, it's a minuscule, work. They're trying to fit themselves into these tiny little holes, in these jobs that in massive corporations, they have one of. Right. And yes. it's gender studies and all of these other things that, if you don't get a job right out of college and you don't get a job in that, you're not qualified to do anything. And
what exactly do you do with a degree in, the effects of gender whatever? No, they wouldn't use the word dysphoria because I think it's a great thing. For gender identity in small suburbs of Indonesia. They just come up with, they're like the craziest, most convoluted names. Like, where are you taking that? How are you making a living off of that?
You know what that used to be called?
Impossible.
That was anthropology. You got a degree in anthropology.
Yes.
And you specialized or dug down into or got hired as an anthropologist to study specific conditions right within humanity, society, whatever. But now they've taken that and they've necked it down so deliberately that you can't do anything else. You can't do general anthropology. You can't, not that anthropology's got, there's a lot of use to that, but again, it's very, very specific, right? And there's a lot of people with anthropology degrees that are teachers right now because there's not a lot of opportunities in the general scope of anthropology. It is what it is.
And there's a scary thought right there, Clay. Like these people with these absurd degrees, where are they going to fit in? Well, there's no niche for me in this specific field that I thought was so important. oh, I guess I'll just become a teacher. Oh, that's terrifying. How many of these people will go into the teaching profession and will be responsible for educating our children, our future, our future, the future.
Well, and what you've got too is people will make that a minor, and then they'll go into education, and then they carry it forward. And listen, I worked in the education environment for the last year and a half, and I understand that kids are very, very different from, when you and I were young, and the environment's very different, and the phones and social media are poison, and that's probably the bigger cause. The problem is that you have so many younger teachers who are, they're all part of this, that they've been raised on the phone as much as the kids in school have. There's no generational difference anymore. The 23, 4-year-olds fresh out of college in their first or second year of teaching, they're the same as the high school kids. They've been raised on social media too. They live on social media. They're buried in their phone in every free minute they have during the daytime, and they're the same thing. So, there's not a lot of separation there. And I know we're like left turn off a topic, but we're paying for that. Like that's the point of all this. It's like you and I and taxpayers all over the place of every age and demographic, we're paying for that type of education because these people chose to take on this debt that they can't repay because they can't get work, because they took a garbage, major that they can't find employment, or they refuse to take employment that's not associated with their degree. And that's the other part.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this problem, like as you start expanding it, becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Like this isn't just a narrow one issue problem. This is something that the ripple effect of it is so massive and really pretty catastrophic in every possible way. And boy, it scares me, like that education aspect scares me, that these are the people that are going to be teaching the children of the future, or that are right now teaching them. This is a incredibly dangerous cycle. And I just really pray more and more that more people say no thank you to public school systems and homeschool their kids or small group school their children, and get them back to some basic, normal, sane values. I don't care. I don't hear about anybody's gender or our gender identity or their pronouns or I don't care. My kids, obviously not literally my kids are grown. But so we'll say my grandkids, they're going to be homeschooled. So I'm not even worried about it, but let's pretend that they will be. My grandkids do not need to know your pronouns. My grandkids do not need to know your politics. They don't need to know your opinions. They need to know their ABCs, the color wheel. They need to know math skills. They need to know, these are the things that you should be teaching the children, none of the other stuff. And they just, it's just absolute madness. And obviously I'm talking about, those early developmental years, school years. And as they get older, you branch out into broader topics. But this is also the problem too, that they start imposing their belief systems and their ideas and their ideologies into their education with no censure at all. It's just free will right there for that.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, it is 100% true. Teachers, who are on the side of this, that it creeps into everything that they do. Like it's a simple, and educational institutions are the same way. And I'm not saying that kids shouldn't have, places to go and people to talk to when they're confused, but that used to be the guidance counselor, right? It was kept out of the classroom. Schools have always had this, right?
Right.
And so it's the guidance counselor, and maybe you need a more robust counseling, department, instead of one or two, maybe you've got, like my high school had a bunch, and we were a big school, but that's where you went. All of that stuff stayed out of the classroom for the most part. Right. And I don't see anything wrong with that, but now, like, it's everything. It's, you can't walk into classrooms without immediately seeing just with your eyes where the politics of that teacher lie. In every room you go into, you can tell where they sit on the political spectrum just by what's hanging on the walls. It's no brainer.
Absolutely. And that should be a flat out no. It should be an absolute no. The only things that should be on those walls are educational materials. That's it. Curriculum materials. That's it.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be a really long time before, I mean a really long time before we see that tide turn, because this has actually been going on for so long, and it's been creeping up to this point, for probably decades, really. And now they have the free reign. It's that progressive agenda that has always existed. It's always been there. But now it's just, they've got all the traction that they've been striving for.
Yeah. And listen, all kids all the way up through, including high school and even into college, should be idealists. They should. Like every kid, no kid that young should be jaded by the real world and turned into a realist, 35-year-old who's got a mortgage and 2 kids. Like they should be idealists. They should have liberal thoughts. They should be, trying to make the world a better place. Right. But there comes a time when the realism sets in.
Yeah.
Right. And what this is doing, this loan repayment is all that is doing is delaying, right, reality setting in. Because when you're 28 and you're married and you've got your first kid and you've got a mortgage, and then somebody goes, oh, all that responsibility from when you were younger, we're just going to wipe that away. And you go, oh, life's good. Life's easy. But, there's the reality is not there like it should be. Taking responsibility for your own decisions. So, we can argue the merits of this, the ideology of this, but the reality is that this is a burden that you're just passing off on somebody else. There's no such thing as free. Right? You pay for this. I pay for this. Other taxpayers pay for this. And who's not paying for it are the people who are benefiting from it. And that's what sucks. So
yeah, absolutely. That is really it in a nutshell, Clay. I mean, you just hit it right on the head, because that's what it is. You're just delaying responsibility, accountability, all of those things. And you're talking about people who are now, legal, literal adults who are being allowed to exist like freeloading children.
And some of them are in office. Oh, by the way.
Yes. Right? We know a couple. We have a couple on our list.
Yeah. Our friend from New York behaving like a 19-year-old, right? Yes. As an elected official.
Oh my gosh. I have the video, and I'm just going to play it. Sorry about that. I don't know about y'all. I mean, this girl, did she go to the Hillary Clinton school of change your accent or your dialect, whatever, for every group that you face? This is a huge, and I just want to focus on that for a minute, because it annoys the daylights out of me every time I see them do this stuff. This is a huge Democrat thing to do. They pander to whatever group they're speaking to, and it is such an insult. I mean, I have seen that girl. We've all seen that girl talk in every different kind of way, depending on who she is targeting for her, her stupid, silly rants that she does. This one takes the cake. Now she's got Cardi B, and I don't know this because I know it because somebody else had said that, Cardi B, which is filthy.
It's on your playlist.
Yeah. Oh,
Cardi
totally.
B's on your playlist.
All day long, I listen to those songs all day. Right after, it's mixed in with all my Christian music.
Yeah. Brooks and Dunn, Cardi B. Yeah, it's right in there.
Oh, yeah. So the background is blaring some Cardi B, who is, if you don't know who she is, save yourself. Don't look it up. I can tell you that she is a very vulgar, disgusting rap artist. I use that term very lightly. And so that's what's blaring in the background. So we already know who we're targeting here, or who she's targeting here. And then she is using this, ghetto style, which she feels is a vernacular that will appeal to the people that she's talking to. The funniest part about this is somebody else took a video of a different angle of that same event, and there's like 50 people there. She's got it's just like a little ring of people, and they're making it look and sound like she's got this massive crowd cheering her on.
You remember her at the border a few years ago, standing there looking through the fence, crying, and then somebody takes a different angle, and it's literally like the end of the fence that you could walk around. she's a manipulator. That's who she, just like you said, she changes her tone, her delivery, the vernacular, the the vocabulary she uses depending on who she's talking to. Because in Congress, unless she wants to get down, right? And she's got a few arguments with people where she does drop down like that in how she addresses people, but she has the capability to be very clear. She has the capability to speak, with a very professional, political tone. She just chooses to manipulate. This is the same as President Biden. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And it's like, what are you talking about? But that's
Hillary Clinton saying she always carries a bottle of hot sauce in her.
Oh my God. That was the biggest bunch of crap I've ever heard in my life. That lady is from Illinois, right? From the super white suburbs of Chicago, and then went to an all-girls private school, right? There's no hot sauce in her friggin' purse. But you're right. This is exactly right in that they manipulate everything. And her buddy just lost his primary last night from the squad. Why? The two biggest things. One is the fire alarm, right? Which nobody forgot about, which he really hoped they did.
It's the first thing I thought of when I saw that name.
Right? The fire alarm is one. And two, it came out just a few weeks ago, perfect timing, by the way, that he is so pro-Hamas, anti-Israel, but when he got elected not that long ago, he was pandering to a bunch of Jewish American power brokers, like people in positions of power, asking for pictures of them together so that he could use that, so that he could get Jewish votes and all this other stuff. So everybody sees through the bullshit, because that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Pandering to specific populations and demographics at specific times. And it's all coming apart. And as much as I hate social media and I hate the phone and the social media is what's doing this, because nothing is unrecorded now. Everything comes out.
You can't hide.
And the internet is undefeated. It
is.
It doesn't go away.
Yeah, that is so true. It's like every single time. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care what, any of the things, anything that you have said or done and shared or posted, or somebody took a video of you saying, or you took a video of yourself saying or doing, whatever, is coming back. It will come back. It will come back to bite you. I don't care who you are. I don't care how long ago it was. I mean, there are people who spend their time just scouring, going back in, going through posts like that to what you said in 2016, and they're going to share it and you're going to get caught. And, here's another, perfect example of that. I think there was also some controversy with him about some things that he posted. Again, another case of, things that you say on the internet will come back. I guess he was partaking in some conspiracy theories about 9/11 and was sharing those thoughts. And, if he thought he got rid of those, he did not, because somebody found him and pulled him up again, and again, I don't really have a problem with conspiracy theories, but there's certain ones, if you're projecting or pretending to be a certain way, and now you say some things that might contradict it, you got a problem.
Well, if you're in New York City, if you're in Washington, D.C., if you're in Central Eastern Pennsylvania, and you are of the mindset of conspiracy theories about 9/11, okay, fine. You are going to have to deal with the population that lived through that.
Yes.
Right. And again, if you honestly believe some of those conspiracy theories, that the government did it and all, fine. That's your belief system. But you understand the voting population that you're dealing with and their personal feelings. They lived through that stuff. It is very personal. It touches very close to home. And when you're somebody like that, people don't forget that stuff. That doesn't go away. And you have to bear the brunt of your decision. And that's, all these people who are purging, there's a new, and it was one of those, like, I looked at it and it was a new President Biden nominee, whatever. Some guy just dumped 2,500 social media posts trying to cleanse his background.
Wow.
And I'll have to go back and look and see who it was. It was one of those flash, kind of headlines that came across. But that's what people are doing now. They're erasing their own past because the internet is undefeated. It doesn't go away.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And the sooner people realize that, the better off they'll be. You think of all these young people, going for jobs now. And this has been going on for a while. That's the first thing. That's the first thing you do. I don't care who you are. It's the first thing, no matter what. When my daughter, or my older daughter, she was single. No, no, you may not date her, guys. No, it's just a no. And I don't care who you are. It's just a no. But she is like on the dating scene. And if the second she gives me a name, what's the first thing I'm doing? You better believe I'm searching his whole, like I will have his entire life history within minutes, and I'll be like, nope, he's got to go. Nope.
And there are sites. Yeah, there are people who are social media sleuths, right? And like they may not be employed to do that, but they're really good at it. I know that my first, job after I retired, I was managing in the business world, and I had a saleswoman who was that person. So anytime that we had a job, an applicant come in for whatever, whether it was a sales job or a customer service job or whatever, I would just give her the name. And within 10 minutes, she would have the whole, like that person's whole life pulled off of social media. You can't hide from it. And there are people like I don't necessarily put forth the time and effort, but I'm fairly confident now in the HR world, that is a learned or even a trained skill like that. You can't hide from that stuff. And if you're a politician, that stuff's out there, and it's never a politician or a celebrity. Think of Kevin Hart,
Oh yeah.
That 12 years, apologized for it once, had to, all that stuff, lost the Oscars or the Emmys or whatever it was show that he lost because of that stuff. Like that's what people are doing now, is they are purging their entire past to give themselves an opportunity to hold public office or be in the public eye, but deny who they are and have been because they know it's wrong.
Yeah. There are so many examples of it. Christy Teigen is a perfect example of, getting right. I mean, that girl's stepping it. I mean, in numerous ways, people, it's like, woo. And it could, and I'm not necessarily saying that it's a good or a great thing. It's just simply a thing. It's just simply a fact. I think, as part of that whole cancel culture stuff, people getting canceled over, something that they said, 10, 12, 15, whatever years ago, and that it may not reflect who they are today. Yeah, absolutely. I was a prolific foul mouth swearer in earlier days, and even as recently as like a year or two ago. And I've started curbing that. Do I still swear? Yes, I still swear. You can just go back to probably our last episode, and I dropped a few bombs. But I make a very conscious effort to minimize that and try and eliminate it to some degree. But yeah, somebody could go back to a post from like a year or so ago and be like, "Woo, she's dropping a whole bunch of F-bombs here. Look at her. She said a lot of stuff that was, and I'd be like, yeah, I did, because that's, I felt that it was okay then. I don't feel that it's okay now for me. I've changed. I've grown. I've changed. I've evolved, so I think everybody should get that same grace of potentially evolving and changing. But then, then you have cases. It's got to be like a case by case thing. Is this an example of somebody's true character? Or is this just something of somebody evolving and their opinions changing and, case by case? Not that guy. No, definitely not. It's very clear that it's not. You look at, because you can add up multiple things and say, well, he did this, and then he did this, and then he did this, and he's pretty consistently crappy.
Yeah, he's working the system. That's who he is. It has nothing to do with evolving, growth, education, informing himself, maturing, any of that stuff has nothing to do with any of it. All of it is him manipulating the system to try and stay in office. That's all it is. That's who that guy is, to his own benefit. That's all he's about.
Absolutely. Hey, we put a lot of things on our plate here to talk about. We have a few minutes. Do you think we can cover that last topic we wanted to cover?
Yeah, I think we can. So this one, is this one is obviously is in my wheelhouse. So, right now that it was one of there are multiple undersecretaries of defense, right? For different, they have different silos that they work in. But one of the undersecretaries just came out the other day and talking about DEI, the LGBTQ community, and all of those things, right? And she was hiding behind the two words that you see at the bottom there. One of them is readiness, which the military uses to justify everything. It's like in the civilian work environment, when you say safety, like we need this for the safety of our workers. Readiness is the exact same bell that you get in the military. Readiness is everything, right? And then of course, national security. But so the problem is and the adjustment that's not being made is, as the undersecretary was up there and she was talking about, the service of the LGBTQ community and their inclusion and all of these things and how it is integral to the readiness of our military and it is an important part of national security. Okay, here's the problem: is that we've talked about this on this show. Is that readiness is about being prepared to and able to fight wars. Okay,
right.
Equipment readiness, personnel readiness, all of those things. Right now, our all volunteer army, because the military, the DoD has decided to essentially kowtow and pander to the very, very loud 1%, they are losing probably 50% of the population. It used to be people volunteered for patriotic reasons, and the military kind of knew, hey, once we get them in and once we get them in uniform, they're going to abide by whatever policies and procedures, and we can, inflict whatever form of abuse we choose, until and some of them will stay. Guys like me, I stayed a long time, and some folks will do 4 years and get out. But now they're losing people before they even sign up because of, again, social media. They can't hide what's going on in the military from an 18-year-old of all people, because the 18-year-old knows what's going on because of their phone, right? They see what's going on. And oh, by the way, you have thousands of young service members who are social media influencers, right? See it all the time. They're in their car, right? Always in their car, in uniform, name, U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force, whatever name tapes, their rank displayed, all that stuff. And they are spouting off, right?
Yeah.
They are both the best and worst recruiting tools for the military.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So but in the grand scheme of things, when the messaging is coming from the Undersecretary of Defense, and she is talking about the mandatory, it's so important for readiness and national security, they've got it backwards. She's alienating. DoD is alienating a much larger part of the population,
right,
who is choosing not to serve, right, as a result of this, in total conflict with everything that DoD is spouting. And listen, I'm not saying that the contributions of that community are not important. What I'm telling you is the vast majority of the population is being ignored. They're being their values, their beliefs, they're all being pushed to the side,
right,
to to kowtow to this, and it's being clouded by those words, readiness and national security. Let's be realistic. It's not a matter of national security that that a demographic that is less than 1% of the population serves. It's not. Okay.
Right.
Is it great if they do? Sure it is. Does it bring diversity to the force? Sure it does. Does it bring a different set of eyes and a different set of ears? Sure it does. But more importantly, can they fight? Do they contribute? Are they good at their job? That's what's important. Not their, gender identity, not their race, not their religion, not their, I personally don't care if it's a male or a female. Can they carry an 80-pound rucksack? Can they drag a 170-pound man with another 80 pounds worth of gear out of a firefight?
Right.
Can they do that? That's what matters. The rest of that crap doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't when it boils down to it. So, this is one of those very, very testy things with me that because I know, it's the bell. You hear the bell of readiness, and I heard that bell rung a million times over the years that I was in, and we fought hard to make sure we were ready to go fight pre and post 9/11. And let me tell you something, it has nothing to do with that crap. Nothing. Maybe this is the larger force. It doesn't matter, truthfully.
Right. Yeah, this is actually really a perfect wrap up of kind of all of the topics, because, we're talking about a softening of our society, of our youth, of the people that we need to step up and take the reins and be the future generation, the future leaders, the future protectors, currently as well, not just future. Like right now, we need this. We need strength. We need masculinity. And this society, this culture is deliberately making a soft community, a soft society is what I mean. And, and so because they can't fight, they need safe spaces for everything. They need to talk about their feelings all the time. They need, they don't understand or believe that they should have to work for 8 hours in a row in a day. That 40-hour work week is too much and it shouldn't be expected of them. And it's unfair. They think that their student debts should be paid off, even though they're the ones that took them out. I mean, this is such a deliberate deconstruction of everything. And this is like the final and greatest and really, to me, the most terrifying example of that, the people that they are catering to and trying to get into these branches of service where, like you said, we need fighters. We need people that are willing to get dirty, to get mean, and to do the things that the rest of us can't imagine doing. And these are not the people that are going to do it. Sorry.
I'll give you one more thing that will potentially cause you a little bit of sleepless nights. So in the grand scheme of our military, and I've talked about this multiple times in multiple places, is if we're going to mobilize, right? Because we heard that during COVID, right? This was, mobilizing the industrial base, right? They took the Ford factories and they made them where they could make, respirators and put them, the ventilators and all that stuff. If we go into a full-scale massive conflict, China, Russia kind of war, right? Tank on tank kind of thing. Our military right now is highly technological. And to replace destroyed equipment takes people to work in factories. Okay? Take that exact same base of people that you're talking about.
Yep.
Who don't want to get dirty, who don't want to work, and think about it in the context of mobilizing the industrial base and saying that Ford plant that makes F-150s is now making this piece of military equipment. Oh, by the way, all of you people who like to drive your electric cars, your Priuses, that factory is also not making Priuses anymore. It's making this. Oh, by the way, we need all of you to go work there. Oh, well, I have a degree in gender studies. You don't need me to work. No, we need you to work there. I don't do those sorts of things. I don't believe in conflict. Nobody cares, right? We don't have the ability as a nation right now to mobilize our industrial base to support full-scale conflict to defend this nation. It doesn't exist. Everybody who thinks that we can go back to World War II, Rosie the Riveter, and all that other stuff, it's not happening. Because not only do we not have the American youth to serve in the military, as is being shown, we also don't have the workforce, right, who refuse to work at McDonald's because it's below them.
Right.
They're not going to go work in a factory to make tanks and airplanes and guns and artillery pieces and all that other stuff. They're not going to do it. So our ability from nuts to bolts to service people, all that, to defend this nation in a time of massive conflict, I will tell you with absolute zero hesitation, does not exist right now.
Yeah. No, there's no argument for me on that. I see that everywhere I turn, and all I can say is, if the hits the fan on our home soil here, you better believe I am trucking my ass and my family's ass right over to Florida, any one of our southern states, because our good old boys and our tough girls there in those states, at least you got a little bit of a fighting chance for a little while there, because they're your down home, hard hitting, don't give a what, ready to fight people. And those are the ones I want to be around. And those are the ones I want to be, next to when things go wrong, not in some college town. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. It's not right now. The evidence is not there that our nation has the ability to do that as a population. It's just not there.
Yep. It's very, very scary. It's very disheartening. And, boy, oh boy, I mean, we just better buckle up, because I think there's a lot of things that are going to go wrong before they start going right. And I think we are, in the midst of, and also heading into more of dark times.
November matters.
Got
November matters. Like this, this is real stuff. Like probably more so than we've seen in a very long time. November really, really matters. And it's not, it is the president, but it's everything. It's Congress. It's all of it. November definitely is the next 4 years as determined by November are going to be huge for the future and survival of this nation. I just feel it in my bones.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. One of these times I'm going to disagree with you on something, but not
we'll
as of yet.
Sooner or later.
Sooner or later, we'll find something. But yeah, no. Guys, we want to hear your thoughts and your perspectives as well. As always, you know that already, but I have to tell you, I'd be remiss if I did not. We loved hanging out with you. We hope we gave you a little reprieve from the crazy debate if you've been going back and forth. And we'll give our own little recap of that on the next show, as well as whatever else we feel like talking about next week.
Hey, as always, and more relevant every day. But for me, keep moving, keep shooting.
Take care, guys.